I can see the people are not clapping. A wonderful mediator. Clap your hands. I saw the judges clapping. And magistrates. Our wonderful judicial officers. Great. Oh. That was supposed to come on. Great. So I want us, I know the Bible tells us about those people that came at 9, others arrived at 5, and they are all paid the same at the end of the day. Now, we tweak that a bit. Those of us who came early get to do a little exercise with me. Yeah? Just to rehash what we covered yesterday, and also so we see where we are at. Yes? But before that, please allow me to invite Dr. Alice Gikandi, who is going to pray for us. Dedicate our day to the Lord so that we can have a productive day. Please help me welcome Dr. Alice. Please help me welcome Dr. Alice.
Good morning, everyone. Kindly let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, in the mighty name of Jesus Christ, we come before you. Jehovah God, we want to thank you for this wonderful morning. We want to thank you, Jehovah God, for the wonderful mediators in the house and those online. Jehovah God, we want to thank you for the good job that each one of us is doing. And we pray that, Jehovah God, that you are going to bless us in a very special way. We thank you, Jehovah God, for being with us yesterday. You took us through the whole session, and each one of us was able to go home and come back today. We cannot take it for granted, Jehovah. And even as we start the day today, we want to start with you, each and every way with you, up to the very end. Jehovah, we pray that you lead us, you guide us in every way. We thank you even for those that have not arrived, and we pray that, Jehovah God, you are going to bring them so that we can all be together. We commit everything into your able hands. In Jesus' mighty name we pray and believe. Amen.
Okay, let's appreciate Dr. Alice once more. Great. So I know you're supposed to start at 9 so that you're not eating into panel time and we get the maximum benefit from the panels today. I want us to reflect a bit on what we covered yesterday. So Paul is going to help us. Please have your phones. This is the only session where you are allowed to openly have your phones without us looking at you badly. Because we need to do a small exercise, just a small one. And then we can all see how the day went. So there is a QR code that will be projected on our screens just momentarily. And we are reflecting on the first panel. So just to rehash, our first panel was on alternative dispute resolution, demystifying Article 159(2)(c) of the Constitution of Kenya, 2010. And I know you remember this because it was moderated by your very own Honorable Sitati. And you took some notes on that. Paul, I'm not sure where we are at. Okay, it's been cast. But in the meantime, those of us that have their phones, go with me to Menti. Just type Menti, M-E-N-T-I, MENTI.com, menti.com, MENTI, menti.com. Now, it's asking you for a code, yes? Now, it's asking you for a code. Please insert 386 70058. Now, for those of us that were lost, menti.com, MENTI, menti.com. It will prompt you to insert a code. Please insert 386 70058. And it's now been projected. Hopefully, Paul, if you're able to just share with me once you start. Okay, you want me to repeat that? Menti.com, menti.com, menti.com. .com is C-O-M. The passcode for you to join is 386 70058. Are we together? Can we all see what is on the screen? If you're there, say amen. Not hearing a lot of amens. Who is stuck? Hands up. Okay. Now, yes, we should be here. We have not started. Yes. Okay, this is a different code, yeah? Okay, sorry. Can we use this code instead? Paul, this is panel 1. Are you sure? Okay, can we use this code instead? Sorry. This one, I'll read for you. Can I read it for you? 69. Yeah, stop the one you're in. Sorry, my apologies. So let's start again. Menti.com. So we move together now. Menti.com, menti.com. And then insert the code for those of us from behind who are not able to see. 6951 6951 3994. Let me repeat that again. 6951 3994. 23 players. Let's see if we can get to around 100 so we can formally start. Okay, can we try that again? Those of us that have been left behind. Menti.com, M-E-N-T-I, menti.com. The passcode, 6951 3994. 6951 3994. And we are at 58 players. Who is stuck? We are together? Okay, I think we just start. Okay, so Paul has started the game. It's not a game because you're supposed to remember what we covered, but it's a game helping us remember. Great. Oh, we had 72 prayers. Nimeanza mapema. 74 players now. 74 players. Okay. Paul, I think we can start the game now. It's a game of how fast you're able to respond. So read the question, understand, and quickly type out the answer. Okay, Paul? Great. Paul, I think you can enter, so we start. Oh, the passcode. Let me repeat that again for people who are joining. 6951 6951 3994. Paul, did we start? Okay, you're able to see the questions? You have done the questions? One question. So Paul is going to move it to the next question so that we can all then project the results and see where we are at. Okay? Is that a hard exam? Multiple choice, true or false, yes or no. Easy things, yes? Yes, but it's going to help us remember a couple of things. You're done with the second question? Some of us are moving faster than the rest. We need to move with everyone. First question, who is done? Just hands up so that yeah, there is a whole population, eh? Even second. Yeah, there are some of our colleagues who are... Okay. Can we move to the third question, which requires you to tell us a bit, just a 3-word sentence, yes? On what was your take home from that session? 3-word sentence on your key take home. And Paul, if you can project that for me, the take homes, so that then we can see probably what you took home is not what your neighbor took home, and that's the learning point for this game. Oh, you're done. Wonderful students, huh? Wonderful students, some of us here. But because we are in CBC, we are leaving no one behind. So we will be back to pick everyone. So we move together. The results? Oh. But just also, Paul, I think you need to. Okay. Okay, so we have Velma. Who is Velma? Who is Velma? Oh, wow. Velma. Who is Velma? Oh, Velma. Who is Velma? Oh, wow. 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 Velma. Who is Velma? Oh, you wanted me to read the first five? Velma, Stella, who is Stella? Is Stella here? Okay, Stella not here. Okay, and then we had MK. And then we had Victor. Oh, Victor, you really want to be mentioned, eh? Okay, let's appreciate Victor. Let's appreciate Victor, one of our international faculty. Who's Croc? Who's Croc? Okay. Probably Croc is online. Thank you so much also our online participants. Paul, if you're able to project for me the results for the take homes so that we can see what our colleagues took home. Okay, it was just a 3-sentence. So this was the first question. Mediation outcomes are legally enforceable. ADR mechanisms are only meant for people with legal training, and you can almost answer this from what we covered. So this one didn't have any answers. Just scroll up, I'll be able to read from here. Mediation is light. Mediation works. Mediation is good. Mediation is key. Mediation is the light. Mediation is working. Mediation really works. ADR is double cheap and creates harmony. That's interesting. Act. And that was meant to be an act of parliament. ADR is not only meant for legal teams. ADR is the way. ADR is the appropriate system. All are experts. A forgiving process. Okay, collaboration, commitment, and continuous improvement. That's interesting. Co-creation of a cog of mediation. Okay, I'll need to meet the author of that. I can get clarity. Encouraging, informative, insightful, effective principles in mediation, enhancing access to justice. Go, I don't know where we are going. Just keep going. Mediation in land cases. Let's make mediation an anchor of justice. Let's keep going. Mediation envisaged in law. Mediation is confidential. Mediation is important and takes less time. Let's keep going. Mediation is the future. That's wonderful. Tax appeals, interesting. To cooperate with others. Great, wonderful. A win there. Great. So, you can see what your friends took home from the first session. So, Paul, if you're able to move to the second one. The second panel was on social transformation through access to justice, the place of mediation towards access to justice in land use, and climate disputes. Now, this is panel 2. Paul, I think you can quickly start. So the code, can I read for you the code again? And let's move faster this time. Menti, again, menti.com, minti.com, and the passcode is 3867. The code again is 3838670058. Yes? Are we together? If you're there, by show of hands. So I see. Okay, let me repeat that again. 38670058. 38670058. Amen? Great. Can we start? Let's see now. At least our online participants topped the other one. So please, people. I mean, you had the opportunity of not only seeing people on camera physically, you said hi to them. So we need to, Okay, Paul, I think we're ready to start. 93 players, 95, almost 100. And then let's go. And then after, great. We are together? Let's see. We are in the era of using mobile phones for good, also in the era of online mediation, and we need to know how to use our gadgets properly so that the disputant is not there, and then you're wondering, how do I unmute? Yes? Great. So, okay, we're at question 2 now. And Paul, immediately after, just project for me the results. Okay, this is the second question. In addressing land and climate change disputes, should mediation prioritize long-term sustainable solutions over quick settlements? And so you can disagree, agree. Okay, 91. Okay, well, I think we can move to the last one. Your key take home from that session, so that we move a bit faster. We can share with you these results so that you can skim through and see what your colleagues had and what they took home. A 3-word sentence. Please make sure it's 3-word, not 1. It's not go. Yeah. Great. You're taking a bit of time here, so you. And I'm being reminded time. And because the first session was more or less like the third, so you're not going to do questions for the third panel, but we'll share a QR code so you can do it during your lunch break so that you remember. Paul, please, I think as they complete, please start sharing with me the results. So we can start at exactly 9:15. Who is Ken M? Let's appreciate Ken. At least we have a winner in the physical session. Let's appreciate them. I know we all tried to win, but next time. Who is Fred? Oh, wonderful. Fred is also here at number 2. Let's appreciate Fred. Hey, kuna watu wamekunja sura. Woof. What's up? Let's be happy for our brothers and sisters. Vroom? Who is Vroom? Vroom must be online, eh? Okay, let's appreciate Vroom who is online. Mokua. Oh, wonderful. Mokua is here. Let's appreciate Mokua. At least you have taken this one. People in session. Samuel. Oh, wonderful. Pastor is here. Has made it to the top 5. If you can see your name there, tunakushukuru sana. And if you didn't manage, it's okay also. There is another one. Okay, let's move to the three-word take-homes. Just there. Okay, let's just keep scrolling. Don't choose advocates. Okay. You know I'm an advocate, eh? No, I don't know how to feel about that. Embrace the TDRs. Okay, I think that's an name. Okay, let's keep scrolling. Land cases can be prioritized. Land is identity. Okay, land matters are emotive. Let's just keep going. I will be able to pick a couple. Some of these also restatements from the first. Mediation win-win, think that's something to speak about. Okay, respect the lawyers. Okay, no, lawyers are being respected. Wakili, amen? Oh, okay, great. Okay, let's keep going. Social transformation, quick acting mediation. And thank you so much. So we try this again tomorrow morning. So please be early so we don't eat into panel time. So at this point, please allow me to welcome the moderator of today's session, advocate, I believe, Irene Agutu. Please let's give her a round of applause as she comes to introduce our panel. And our panel will address a practitioner's perspective, the role of private bodies, and relevant public entities in advancing mediation in land and land use disputes. So karibu sana, Irene, and you have about an hour also. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I will start by having a beef with the advocate. I am not an advocate. I am an architect. Yes. But I don't blame him. The reason being, it appears that very few people know who architects are and what they do. So I'll just start by giving you a brief definition. Actually, maybe not. I know, I can see. The question, what is an architect doing in a mediation summit? One may ask. But I'll bring forth the focus in this summit is land use, and climate change disputes. Now, we may want to appreciate the fact that all buildings are built on land, correct?
No.
Somebody says except in the coast. I wonder which coast that is. And boat houses. But that is not a building, that's a boat. However, just to get focus back, let's focus. So when land disputes occur, architecture stops. Correct? Because if we are fighting on matters land, if parties are not agreeing on matters land, then we cannot build. And please remember that everything we do in buildings. We are born in buildings. We go to school in buildings. We get sick in buildings. We get better in buildings. Sometimes we die in buildings, sometimes not. But when immediately we die, we are taken into a building. But finally some are buried in buildings, some not. So that is the reason why we as architects have found the need to actually get involved in matters mediation, because first and foremost, one of the laws that guide our practice, the Physical Land Use and Planning Act, has to do with planning and land. And more recently, because of the planning issues we're having in this country, not just in Nairobi, but across the counties as well, planning issues have brought forth a lot of disputes that need mediation. So ultimately, architects have found themselves in a space where we have become mediators so that the industry can proceed. With that, I would like to welcome our panel, our first panel of the day. I will call them by name and they will come forth. Lady Justice Lucy Mbugua. Please give her a clap. A beautiful lady there. Please take a seat. Lady Justice, retired, Mulenga from Zambia. That is Lady Justice Mugeni Mulenga. To the gentleman, Samson Lukoba. Are you nearby? And finally, to redeem the construction industry, the built environment industry, Planner David Gatimo. Do we have microphones? I will scrap that. Welcome. Are these activated? Thank you. So we shall welcome our panel this morning, and as they say, the famous, no one knows you better than you know yourself. So I suspect that if I was to do the intros of the esteemed members of this panel, I may not do it justice. So I will start from my far right. Ladies, you know we have a problem with right and left. So right, from my far right.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Justice Lucy Bugwa, Judge of Environment and Land Court, based in Nanyuki, from mid-January, but formerly I was in Milimani Environment and Land Court. Thank you.
Good morning. I've been given a new title of retired. But I'm not retired. Okay.
I apologize.
Yes. My names, at least, have already been stated. I come from Zambia. I have been a judge of the High Court and the Constitutional Court. And currently, I think there are some issues going on. But I am here having had experience in terms of court annex mediation and also training and dealing with mediators and all. So I've come to share my experiences on that. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Samson Lukoba. I am an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. I work as the Corporation Secretary and Head of Legal at the National Construction Authority. In other instances, when other forums, when I appear, I will be called an engineer or an architect, but I'm not that. I, of course, deal with corporate matters, but also legal matters. And in the construction space, as you have been told, there are quite a number of disputes that arise as a result of land use. beyond the land itself. When it comes to land use, there are quite a number of disputes that arise, and that is what I'm here to talk about this morning. So thank you for having me.
Good morning, one and all. My name is Planner David Gatimu, an urban planner. I'm in private practice. I've been in private practice for the last 7 years or so. But before venturing into private practice, I worked with the public sector. I started off my career in Nairobi City County, where I worked for more than 25 years. And I took early retirement and briefly worked again with the Kiambu County government. So my exposure has been in the most vibrant urbanizing environments in Kenya. I'm also a member of a number of professional institutions, the Architectural Association of Kenya, Town Planners Chapter, the Kenya Institute of Planners, amongst others. So it's a pleasure to be here to share with you the experiences in the built environment. Thank you.
Please clap decisively. That's much better. So now you know we know who we are dealing with. Huh? They are no longer strangers. So I will start. Yesterday was a very interesting day for me. A lot of definitions came through on matters mediation, what it is, what it's not, what its limitations are, how far it can stretch, its legalities, or the converse, the illegalities, if there are any. Justice Mbugua, what is your perspective or definition or understanding of mediation as a concept in and of itself, the Nanyuki version?
Thank you very much, moderator. Definition of mediation, we got it yesterday. We got to learn that it is where there is a neutral arbiter who comes to bring together parties who are having a dispute. If you can allow me, in the construction industry, those disputes do spill over in court. And when they spill over in court, you know, courts do not rewrite contracts for the parties. Yet we know in the construction industry, we are dealing with multi-layered, many disciplines. We have all sorts of engineers. We have the architects like Irene. We have the surveyors. We have the lawyers. We have the procurement officers. And of course, the financier. So what happens is that things don't always go as planned. The best laid plans don't come through. And parties would perhaps prefer to vary their contracts, terms of the contracts. But you know, when now they rush to court expecting the court to hear them out, the courts don't rewrite contracts. So mediation comes assist those parties to ensure that they are able to negotiate, renegotiate, and understand that the practice currently is that the emerging issues, they negotiate for 60 days, then now they go for mediation for 60 days, and then they go for, now they can resort to arbitration. If I can just mention, mediation is properly anchored in the law. We have section 59B of the Civil Procedure Act of Kenya. There we have 3 methods in which you can apply mediation when a case is in court. You can do it upon request. The parties request the court. Secondly is when the court finds it appropriate. And for the last, the month of March, that is what the Environment and Land Court was doing, where we were applying that subsection 59B to where we screen files where we find it appropriate. And the final one is where the law provides. We have a lot of laws in Kenya which actually provide for mediation. I can just mention a few ones, some of the laws. One is the one which was mentioned yesterday, that is the IGCR, that is Intergovernmental Relations Act. It was expounded yesterday. We have the Appeals Board in the National Construction Act. We also have some other, I think, Community Land Act. That is Section 40. It provides for mediation. A whole, quite a big section. And then we also have another county law in Nairobi. That is the Nairobi County Community Neighborhood Association Act of 2016. It provides for mediation committees. So we have those laws. It's only that they are scattered all over. And if we engage those laws, we can find proper channels to conduct mediation. Also, there's the private mediation. It's factored under Section 59D of the Civil Procedure Act, where once you conduct private mediation, that award can be adopted as a judgment of the court. It can be enforced as a judgment of the court. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lady Justice. That was very well articulated. My lens on the National Construction Authority. Wakili, please tell us, what is the National Construction Authority and what does it do?
Thank you, Architect. The National Construction Authority is a state corporation. It is established under the provisions of Section 3 of the National Construction Authority Act of 2011, basically to oversee and coordinate the development in the construction sector. That's a really big obligation that the authority has. There are about 15 functions, but I'll put them into 3. The first one is regulatory, where the authority is required by law to register and license contractors. It also accredits skilled construction workers and registers construction projects that are happening in the industry. The other key role that the authority has is advisory. Based on the functions, there is a research mandate that the authority has in the construction sector. And as a result of that, we are able to advise government on matters construction and also the industry when it comes to issues of construction. Another key mandate is capacity building. As you register and regulate contractors, then you need to also build their capacity. So you train them and basically open up spaces for new ideas and technology for the industry. Over and above that, as we regulate, we have also recently been granted a new mandate by amendment of the law, and that was to oversee the implementation of the building code. The building code that we had in Kenya was the building code of 1968. That's more than 50 years. So in 2024, 28th of February 2024, a new building code was published with a 1-year transition. So it came into effect on the 1st of March 2025. So it has changed the landscape of construction, especially when it comes to the built environment, quite dramatically. Construction basically happens across various sectors. It would be buildings, it would be on infrastructure projects, that's roads, railways, it would be in water, the harbors, many other forms of construction. But the area where mediation comes in handy would be the area of buildings and construction, where our neighborhoods are changing, our landscapes are changing, and the building code plays a key role. It defines the role of a contractor, defines the various professionals that are within the built environment. We'll have architects, defines what they're supposed to do. Engineers, as has been stated, there are various aspects of engineering, from structural to electrical and others. We also have other practitioners, of course, like planners who come before construction happens. So all of them have been given a space in the building code, and also environment laws have been restated in the code. So we are supposed to comply with that. But in construction, as you may know, disputes arise at all stages. A developer will come up with a desire to have a project and probably engage an architect. Now, what happens is that an architect will do the design, but immediately he hands over the plans or the sketches to the developer will take off. and go and look for somebody else to assist in approval. The moment he gets approval, he gets somebody else again to go and implement the project. Now, at all these levels, there are disputes that are rising that need to be resolved. When the project is being implemented, often than not, there will be disputes with neighbors regarding issues of course, the siting of the building, or even the type of building that is coming up in a specific location. So in all those instances, you find that as NCA, we receive a lot of complaints from the public. Some, of course, do spill over to the courts, but there are those that we resolve at our level through mediation. We try and bring parties together. One is excavating their property properly, beacon to beacon, and that causes maybe the damage to a neighboring property, and a dispute arises, and you are able to, again, deal with that at that level. Sometimes, of course, as I have said, it will spill over to the courts. And I think the judges from the Environment Court can confirm that in Nairobi and Mombasa, we have quite a number of disputes that have arisen in the last 3 or 4 years, where NCA has been enjoined as a party, either as an interested party or even as a respondent in the matters that have been filed. But we try as much as possible to advise the court in terms of the law, in terms of what we do, in terms of our mandate, because some of the issues are planning issues that we do not deal with. There are agencies, the county and others that deal with the issues to do with planning, and zoning issues that probably also fall elsewhere. But we try as much as possible to advise the courts accordingly in terms of how the approach that can be taken to resolve the disputes that arise in this instance. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wakili. He answered his own question. Did I ask that really? In our quest to have an understanding of the process, one of the things that we seek to do is to understand best practices across the region and even globally. Justice Molenga, not retired. What does me? Sorry? Oh. It's on. You cannot hear me. Oh, now you can. I'll remember that. I began by saying, in our quest to understand the process of mediation better, one of the things that we seek to do is to take a look, a deep dive into regional and maybe even global best practices. My question to Lady Justice Molenga is, what does mediation look like in Zambia?
Thank you. Mediation in Zambia has had its own ups and downs. We have been having court annex mediation introduced in our jurisdiction for decades now. But what we have seen is that it has been going up and down depending on the stakeholders that we have. And now we're looking at an issue of making sure that we enhance that mediation, court annex mediation. So in brief, I'm saying we have court annex mediation. And it is that mediation, court annex mediation, of which I've served on the committee for many years in trying to see how to better and effectively manage the mediation and promote it and make sure that parties go to mediation and then settle there. So Kenya has moved and surpassed us in terms of mediation, because you also have a structure for private mediation, which I'm sure we're trying to also do. We have been thinking about it, and it is something that will be done, I'm sure, in the course as we move along, to try and also enhance that private mediation. So basically, for you to go to mediation and have a mediation agreement that is enforceable in court, it means that it has to be referred by the court to mediators. And what I can mention here as one of the things that we found is that if you as the judiciary, us as a judiciary, because we are the ones that introduced it and we are the ones that accredit these mediators or put them on our list, then we have to ensure that we monitor the type of trainings that they have, so that you have mediators that properly trained, have all the skills, can competently do the job. Because when you go to mediation and you have a bad experience there, it will mean that all the work that has been done by the judiciary, by other people, will go to waste because you tell a bad story. And we know that bad stories travel faster than good news. And that has been our experience, in that we have been engaged in making sure that our mediators have the skills that they need. And therefore, the issue of training and capacity building comes in. And at the moment, we're looking at how to have continuous education, that is the CPD for the mediators, because once you get trained, and you've been trained 10 years ago, it doesn't mean that there is no room. Things happen and regulations change and things change. And in the same way that we normally train adjudicators, judges, magistrates have continuous education, continuing education, the same thing has to apply also to mediators, because these are our ambassadors for mediation. And people will be able to bring their disputes there. And in terms of the environmental space, we have not yet trained our mediators in environmental cases or in dealing with environmental issues, but we have gone a long way. When I was part of heading the training committee of the judiciary, we developed modules, training modules for judges, for magistrates, to handle environmental matters and to be able to distill, because these are the people that are referring matters to mediation. So they should appreciate what it is, what matters can I best send people to mediation and help them settle. And that is where I think we come in, because the issue is that we need all of us, that is the judiciary, that is the other players, to have environmental eyes. And that is what I call the green eyes. That when you are looking at this conflict, you should be able to identify, for example, in planning, the planning disputes, you'll be able to see that this is a dispute that is also impacting on the environment. And the better place is for people to go and have a space in mediation where they can reach agreements that balance the interests, both of the other players who are looking at their economic good, because when you want to do a building, it is development. So you are balancing development, you are balancing the issues that the common man out there, the neighbor who's being inconvenienced by one thing or the other because of maybe the activities that they are making, should also have their voice heard and come up with a solution that is equitable to all. So mediation is really the answer for us to have a better community, better dispute resolution, and it's the more effective justice for the environment out there.
Very much. I thought this works better when I face this side. So I'll face this side, although I'd prefer to look at my audience. But I mean, my panelists. So mediation looks pretty much the same in Zambia as it does here. So can we safely then say that mediation is equal internationally? But that's a point to ponder over. Planner Gatimu, I'm happy to have a fellow building environment practitioner here with me. Ordinarily, we are very reclusive in nature. I was laughing when Lady Justice Mbugua called me an architecture. But we are so used to that because we have to keep on reminding people that we are architects, not architecture. Architecture is the practice. Architects is the people. But we've realized that it is our fault because we do not come out enough to help the public know what it is that we do. So I'm very, very happy to have you here today, Planner Gatimu. You're here representing KEPSA. Quickly and very briefly, give us a better understanding of who and what KEPSA is, what KEPSA does. And additionally, yesterday, we went into the depths of looking at private mediation. Who can remember that discussion? Only one person. The rest of you are not listening. Okay, all of you. Thank you. So, with KEPSA, which is a private, well, I'll not define it for you. What is your take on matters private mediation from the association that you're representing today?
Thank you very much, Architect Irene. And Architect Irene. What? Maybe my pronunciation may have been wrong, but Architect Irene. I also face the same challenge when I introduce myself as a planner, and many people do not understand what planning is. So maybe I need to define what planning is, because when I introduce myself as a planner, sometimes I'm asked, are you an event planner?
I'll give you 30 seconds to do that.
Yeah, so physical planning, town planning, and planning of spaces is what we do as planners. And as architects normally do, they normally interact with the building and the human scale. But when you drive or when you walk out of your house, and I believe most of us, when you drove from our houses, we live in residential areas where we are seated. When you ask the designated land use of this place is educational. And in between, you came across so many other land uses. So a planner does a lot of things to do with land uses. We have commercial areas, we have residential areas, we have industrial areas. That's a subject that we can discuss at length in another day. To your question, we know in governance we have the public and the private. And the public, we have the departments, the ministries, the institutions that are in public service, the local authorities or the county governments. But when you come to the private, you also have many practitioners, industries, services, and others. That's where KEPSA comes in. So we can say between the public and the private, KEPSA stands on the private side, and we have the other institutions standing on them. So that's a very simple description I can offer. On issues of mediation, and especially on matters to do with planning and matters to do with development, we are urbanizing. We are a country that is urbanizing very fast, and many things that are happening within our environments are happening in the urban scene. And if I may just give you a very quick scenario of how Kenya is urbanizing, we are standing at about 30%. And in the next 10 years, we should be surpassing 50%, which means the disputes that are going to arise from land matters and the built environment are going to escalate. So this is an area that needs to be given sharp focus. What do roles planners play in ensuring that these disputes are minimized? We need to have proper plans at various levels. We have what we call the local plans that deal with neighborhoods or zones. We have plans that are prepared at the county level. We also have plans that are prepared at the national level. Those are subjects that we can discuss on another day in detail. So the question is, do we have sufficient plans that are able to guide us short-term, mid-term, and long-term? Yes, some are there, and I believe judges, when they're making their determinations, when they're hearing matters, they always make reference to documented plans. How does a plan determine what's supposed to happen in an area? And towns are like living organisms. When you plan, you must ensure that you plan an ideal situation where you have the right land uses, the right connectivity, the right harmony, amongst others. And you already started witnessing lack of planning is bringing a lot of disputes. And I believe the ELC right now is very busy because of lack of proper plans or lack of proper interpretation of those plans. So the area of planning stands as one of the areas that needs to be appropriately addressed, where county governments and the national governments need to have proper plans of the ideal urban environments. So that's how you need to start addressing or minimizing areas on conflict so that you minimize the challenges that arise out of that.
Sindio nangoja, namuangalia, again, he answered his own question.
The Kenya Private Sector Alliance, and actually by calling it alliance, it has various actors from the various sectors. Manufacturing, professional bodies, service industry, all of them converge within the Kenya Private Sector Alliance. And within the structure, we have various sector boards that address those various sectors. And out of those boards, we're able to engage the various sectors of the government. So we can say the structure of KEPSA, the way it is, mirrors on what is on the government side, so that on all sector areas, we have counterparts how we be able to engage on issues that affect the conduct of business and the built environment.
Zoning applied in Nairobi.
Sorry?
Zoning.
Yes.
He's stepping on a landmine.
Zoning, if I can just mention maybe briefly about zoning, because I think that's very important. For zoning, we have what we call local physical development plans. The entire Nairobi has 20 zones. The zones that were planned for, there's no single zone that is having an active plan. All of them have expired. So Nairobi has been making attempts, and I think this is one area that has been having a lot of issues and debates going on. What do you do? And currently, as we speak, Nairobi has a policy, which they have done, is still in a draft form, is before the county assembly, that looks into how they can address issues of zoning and development densities, amongst others. A lot of debate is raging because the method of preparation of a local physical development plan is a very logical way of doing it, because it involves all the practitioners, the engineers, the environmental experts, the architects and others, so that they come up with a composite document that defines an ideal urban situation for a horizon of 10 years. It's not a thing that is done in a boardroom, it's something that is done in a very consultative manner through public barazas, through town hall meetings, and various engagements within the professional bodies. So that's what, as professional bodies and KEPTA, we are recommending, so that we have what is ideal done in the most logical manner using the most competent professional associations that we have in Kenya.
Thank you very much, Planagetimu, for that comprehensive answer. But I'm compelled to point out that the draft development policy that you speak of has been roundly rejected by residents of Nairobi, by professional associations. So that will need mediation. So mediators, kueni tayari. Lady Justice Mbugo, I come back to you. How do the mandates of the relevant professional bodies facilitate the use of mediation in the resolution of disputes? And what are some of the perspectives and success stories on the use of mediation to resolve disputes in your experience?
Thank you, moderator. Let me pick from where my panelist, Mr. Sampson, stated that when you are undertaking these construction projects, you have to think of neighbors. And you heard me in my introduction citing a neighborhood act, the one of the county of Nairobi. I don't think the other counties in Kenya have such a county act. And my colleagues will bear me out that most of these disputes concerning developments, they are brought about by third-party claimants. These are the neighbors. The moment even now you bring an excavator here, you will just see some an application for injunction in court. So the professionals have the mandate to ensure that they think about these neighborhoods, the residents, because these are the people who will first bring that project to a halt. And we know that even one day of stopping that project, it brings monumental adverse effects. A delay is has very adverse effects on a construction project. Let me mention another angle. In Kenya, somebody mentioned that we don't have an adjudication statute in the construction industry. I think that was the Waihenya, and that is true. So most of these contracts are anchored on the law of contract. And you know, under the law of contract, well, what happens is that the clause that is usually indicated is the one on arbitration. So usually there is no clause for mediation. But when I was researching for this function, I came across that parties the fallback is some standard format called FIDIC. This is an international organization of engineers. It's, I think, a French acronym, where they make a provision for dispute boards to resolve disputes. And the notion is that the decisions of those dispute boards are sort of not binding. So I did some research and I found that courts are actually upholding the decisions of those dispute boards. And I would wish to read one of them. This is the case of Songea, Satom, SAS versus the National Irrigation Authority. It's from the Commercial Division, E320 of 2022. This is the plaintiff was an international company, and the contract was anchored on the FIDIC format, and they were not being paid by the defendant, the National Irrigation Board. So the dispute board resolved that they ought to be paid, and it was stated that you pay first, then you argue later. You go to litigate later, but you pay first. So they came to court, that is the international company, to request for summary judgment to be paid. So the other side was arguing that they need to go for arbitration. They have not exhausted the remedies for the dispute resolution mechanism. But the court upheld the decision of the board. This is a decision of our late brother, Judge Majaja, and he stated that the parties are bound by the agreement. It was upheld. I have seen that it has gone to the Court of Appeal. I don't know what has happened, so I'll leave at that. If I had more time, I'm sure there are many other decisions out there. So what I would say is that we should not fear making those clauses in our contracts. We should not just make the clause on arbitration, as long as those clauses are clear and ambiguous, they will be upheld by the court. So another aspect I can say is that they have the professionals or the people who are dealing with those disputes when they're making the contract, they have the mandate to do partial mediation. You know, in court, you cannot say that I'll just deal with a bit of the problem or a quarter of the problem. We have to deal with the whole dispute. But in mediation, they have the flexibility to undertake partial, to consider the partial dispute And what can be escalated to arbitration or to the court, it may be just a bit of what they cannot handle. So it is easier for the parties, it will be less costly. And the other issue, again, I had mentioned, I think, about the flexibility and adaptability. They are able to first go to negotiation, then they can go to mediation, and then can escalate the issues to arbitration. I think for now, that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lady Justice. We have just about 30 minutes left. So Akili, you will now answer the question that I'm asking, not the one you want to answer. In the issue, in the use of mediation to resolve disputes, what are some of the perspectives and success stories of the National Construction Authority? You already gave us the perspectives, so I want you to concentrate on the success stories, if any.
Thank you. So you're saying I went ahead of myself. So let me talk of the successes. We have quite a number. As I said, when construction happens, things arise. We have a case of one of our big manufacturing companies that was renovating one of their plants in Kisumu, and they entered into a contract with a big contractor, an NCA1 contractor. I'll not mention the names, I think for purposes of confidentiality. So they started this contract, I think ran about 80% of the contract quite well, but at some point the contractor ran into some challenges. As you know, under the NCA Act, under Section 22, there's a provision that allows the board to inquire into the conduct of a contractor basically make decisions that may affect even the registration of the contractor. So the client, who was the developer in this case, brought the matter to the attention of the board, and the board, in its wisdom, looked at the issue, and this was just around the COVID time when I think businesses had been really affected, and decided to bring the parties together onto the table. As management, we were directed to bring them together to negotiate and agree on a solution that would be binding to the parties. And we were able to do that. They ended up signing an agreement that they followed through to implementation. The contractor was able to hand over the site back to the developer, and the developer brought on board a different contractor who was able to complete the project. So you see, the dispute was resolved through mediation. It's the parties that actually came up with the solutions to the challenge that they had, and it did not spill over to the courts or into arbitration, because there are those clauses that were providing those steps in the contract that they had signed. So I think that's one of the major instances where we can say that the National Construction Authority played a big role in ensuring that we mediated a dispute between parties. Thank you.
Let us clap again for the National Construction Authority for one victory. Lady Justice Mulenga, yesterday we had the privilege of having the chairman of the National Lands Commission here with us. And I guess he articulated quite well what the National Land Commission does and where mediation comes in within his mandate. My question to you would be, in Zambia, do you have a National Lands Commission? And what are the best practices, regionally that is, on the role of professional bodies in regulating their members' involvement in the mediation process. That question reads as it is, but I will ask it in my own way, because I'm just like that. National Lands Commission, is there one in Zambia? And if not, how then do you deal with issues to do that would ordinarily be taken before the National Lands Commission?
Okay, for the first question, we do not have a National Lands Commission. So what we have is that the local authorities normally deal with those issues on land in terms of on hand. So you have the national authority there, the local authorities doing that. And of course, there's the ministry that is in charge of lands that also has some mechanisms. So what we have is that we do not have a structured or mediation in those institutions, but they have regulations for and procedures for conflict resolution. I'll give one example. There was an issue in terms of zoning now, because there are some places that are said to be residential, but now we've seen a lot of mixed use coming in, because you find that these corporations are moving away from central business district or other districts where they're supposed to be, coming into residential areas and building places. So I know of a case where the people were able, because I know them personally, an investor came and in the neighborhood bought a property next to them, raised down the house that was there because it was residential, and without the neighbors knowing, they had, I think, some contacts in the local government or local authority that gave them planning permission for them to raise the building. So they were building now a high-rise building which had many floors, and these neighbors now were apprehensive because they were saying, we don't know what this investor will do, meaning that if their building goes beyond a certain range, they'll be looking into our yards. And with AI and everything that is happening, you won't know. You won't be free now to be in your own neighborhood, to swim in your own swimming pool. You don't know who's taking your pictures because you have this building up there. But the good thing is that with those complaint mechanism or dispute mechanism that the local authority had, they were able to sit down, both parties. And at the end of the day, they agreed that the building will not go so high, it will only be this height. And in the end, both the neighbors and that developer were happy, and the matter didn't have to come into court because it was so emotive that the person was saying we were ready to bring it to court. And so, yes, we don't have, like you have said, I have said that you've moved far ahead of us, but I think we'll catch up with you soon. But the local authorities and the mechanisms are there for dispute to be resolved. And what I believe to be the best practice is that with this mediation now, and Zambia has the same similar provision, constitutional provision on promotion of ADR, I believe that it is a time that different countries, including my own, should be able now to sensitize and equip all the members. For example, those that are dealing with complaints in the local government areas, in local government authorities, and all these other bodies should be trained in mediation, so that when people go there, they have a good experience there as well. So when we have that mediation going across, cutting across all the sectors, then we are going to have a good experience. And I also want to say that as bodies, whether public or private, I think now that we are talking about mediation, we should both see how to put those into practice and how to engage others, policymakers. I think one of the things that I saw here is that we had even somebody from Parliament, that is the lawmakers, also being in this forum and hearing about mediation. And I think that we shouldn't leave our lawmakers behind. They should also be part of this, that when they know that the laws, the regulations, all those that they're doing, that they should structure in mediation, and we should see ADR at every level happening.
Thank you very, very much, Lady Justice. My takeaway from that is that you know that Zambia is famed for the amount of alcohol intake. Kenya caught up. But now we have found something else in common, which is zoning problems. We are together. I had a question for Planner Gatimu, but I will allow this question because I can see we just have 20 minutes left, and I can see questions on your lips. I will allow this question to come from plenary. So I will now open up the plenary for questions, especially on zoning. This light is blinding me, so I may need to rise so that I can see hands coming up. You again, but carry on. Please. Oh, you need a mic. Sorry. Is there a mic to go around? I can't see. What does it say? Please read it.
A very good morning.
Good morning.
I know why the moderator was called a lawyer. She just sounds like one. But my question is this. I've heard a number of panelists talk about mediation being the first rank. And then you step up, as it were, to arbitration. And I'm trying to understand that. Because ordinarily, arbitration is embedded into a contract at the time of signing the agreement. So that if you were to come to court, for instance, the court would immediately tell you, wait a minute, there is an arbitration clause in your agreement, you must go to arbitration. We don't tell you go to mediation, and if you fail, go to arbitration. But I'm getting a sense, perhaps I'm old school, that you can do that you can do mediation, even though in your contract you have arbitration, and then if mediation fails, you can climb onto the next rank of arbitration. I want to understand that. Thank you.
You know, I'm always with my brother, Justice Ochan, and so my question too is very related. We should really have mediation built into the contracts. That should be the language. To me, mediation should be first, and then you go to arbitration, but you can address both questions.
We'll take a question from the virtual platform, but I don't know, are we going to have an overload? Maybe Justice Mbugua can address those two concurrently. Okay, it's related.
It's also related, from Franklin Muthomi. Hello, I've worked in the engineering stroke construction industry as an in-house counsel for over 3 years. In all my time, I have never come across a single construction contract that favored mediation over arbitration as a preferred dispute resolution mechanism. What will it take to change this attitude and embrace mediation as I deal within the construction industry?
Thank you very much. It is indeed very related. Is your question related as well? Okay.
Mine was the order in which then either arbitration, mediation, or mediation, arbitration, because mediation, the agreement is non-appealable. So it seems to be like the final step. Yet arbitration, sometimes the awards can be appealed in court. And then the court sends it back to arbitration and people run around in circles. So the question is then how, if you do mediation, then arbitration is out of the picture because it's binding if you make an agreement. So in what order would you put that? Do we do arbitration, mediation, or mediation, arbitration? And then how would those two work considering the finality of the decisions?
All right. Thank you very much. We can collapse all those 4 questions. There's one more, but I'll need to put you guys in check. We have just about 5 minutes left. We'll just listen to the last one.
Okay, my name is Anna Muturi, mediator. I have one concern. This concern is most people in the hall or even those ones who are in the crowds, there's this thing which we call buildings collapsing. And I'm sure most of us have either directly been affected or indirectly. Now that we are having builders here, the architects, the building association, all that, where does the buck stop? And in most cases, when the environmental risk is done, what happens? And how does mediation can help in such a situation? Recently, something happened in Kisii, where a building collapsed, and the people who were affected were the neighbors with their wooden houses. So how do we go around solving that problem? Thank you.
All right, thanks. I think we'll cap it at that. And in order of, okay. Last one.
Thank you. My name's Barnabas Maloba from Kakamega. And I'm particularly concerned with the fact that we're talking about climate change, some element of pollution, and that is where we've got conflict. Then I've had Brother Gatimu talk about zoning. My concern goes to this fact that, you see, someplace where I come from in Kakamega, we have got a sewage. The Kakamega sewage is in an environment where just next to it is a school. And most of the time, you'll find that as you walk around, there are flies in the school, the stench is in the school, and the environment is normally very, it's inhuman. So I really would want to get an answer. How do we attack that element of zoning if we must change that sewage or transfer that sewage to a different location? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sorry, Eileen, architect. I have somebody here is not fully
yes.
Able to see you. He has asked me to bring to your attention that he wishes to raise a question. But since I have the mic, I have also to find out from you, the architect, the NCA, and the planner. What are you doing about the rocottes? That is the county governments. Most of the problems we have, the districts that arise in the county areas, arises from lack of planning, completely misguided allocation of sites and all that, so that if we had some measure of interventions by the NCA, the planners, maybe they can guide the councils to be more organized. And now, to my friend and neighbor, he wishes to ask a question.
Sure.
Thank you so much. Maybe to introduce myself. My name is Director Honorable Lasoy Ambrose. I work with the Ministry of Labor and also as a lecturer, assistant lecturer at Strathmore University and a tutor, Kenya School of Government. I really have to ask two questions. And my friend from Kakamega touches on it, but particularly I wanted to talk about the issue of zoning in Nairobi, and especially in slums areas. We have dam site like Kware dam site, we have Kawangware. Recently, there was on a spotlight that some of these dam site has encroached into people's gates, doors. We tried so much to talk with people and also the government. But the only thing the government of Nairobi County was to encroach further to the public offices. You remember about Kenya KBLC, what happened? You remember about what happened in Kibera. In that scenario, and this question goes to NCA lawyer, what are the regulatory measures and laws the NCA is doing that we need to eradicate this kind of a small issue that looks like a big issue so that we can sanitize our Nairobi or other towns in Kenya? Question number 2 goes to a planner. I don't remember the name. Is it James?
David.
James.
David.
David. I happen to mediate between 2 cases which has brought into the now limelight of Kenya, between Kimwarer Dam and Ithare Dam. Right now, the dams has collapsed. Everything has gone down. Nothing is going on. Reason is that when the government planned for the constructions of these dams, they encroach into a public land, and especially around where people live. And then the resident go to court and stop the construction of this dam. I want to know, when you are doing land planning about, yesterday, I was following online yesterday, and we were told that the government and the private sector are encroaching illegally to land maybe specifically used for farming or building for residential. But now the big industries, the big projects like Ithare are encroaching to those areas. What are the measures have you taken for you to plan a linear, cohesive, and environmental friendly to these big projects? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for your question.
Well,
I'm going to make an executive decision and cap the questions at that, because we only have 5 minutes left for all questions to be addressed. So in terms of allocation, Lady Justice Mugwa, you will address the issue of mediation, arbitration, that nexus, that axis. Wakili, you'll address all matters to do with collapsing buildings and the issue on what role NCA plays in the problems that come out of thereof. I have the answer, but I won't give it to you. And Planner Gatimu, all those issues, please address them, Siwa, etc., etc. But I will ask humbly Please take about a minute and a half each. Proceed.
Okay, thank you. The question on mediation. The feeling I got, or what I understood, or what I was told is that it's an issue of not the decisions not being binding, or the clauses not being binding, and not the issue of finality of the decision. So the parties felt that the arbitration has some kind of, but it's of binding nature. And that is why I took time to get that case of Songea. And in that case, in fact, they had that clause of the dispute boards, and they still had the clause of arbitration. And the two applications in court, one for summary judgment, the other one was for reference for arbitration. But as you have heard, the court declined the application for reference to arbitration and upheld the decision of the dispute board because it was clear and unambiguous. So in my view, it is an issue of perhaps not understanding, are not sure about the justiciability of the mediation process. But as long as those clauses are clear, they will be upheld by the court. And we wait for the court to settle the issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much for keeping it within the time limits. And I hope all parties are satisfied with that mediation process. Are you satisfied with the answer? NCA, no. Tea break, you shall address it at tea break. NCA. Yes, I'll come back to her.
Yeah, thank you. Respond to was on collapsing of buildings, which is a big problem. Sorry. Thank you. Yeah, I think this is better. Yeah, so the first one that I was supposed to respond to was on the issue of collapsing of buildings, and this is a big challenge for us as a country. Efficiency has gone down. And you mentioned the Kisi building. Yesterday there was there's another building that was brought down in Mombasa by the Kenya Defense Forces. Challenge, and I talked about it. The approach that a lot of developers take when they are doing their construction projects, especially buildings, and the use of professionals. There is failure of buildings is largely due to the structural elements basically giving in to the stress of the building, either the live loads or the dead loads of the building. An engineer or an architect, and then immediately they get the sketches, the first draft of the sketch, they will run away with those drafts to maybe to approval, get another engineer to help approving, and then when they go to site, you'll find that none of the engineers is involved in the construction process. Yeah.
Where does the buck?
Yes, I'll come to that. And when we look ahead, now the building code that has basically made it mandatory that all those processes must be done by a professional. So as we get into this phase, we have been doing sensitization of both the public and also the county governments that are responsible for approval. We hope to see better enforcement, especially by government. That goes both for national and county governments, and also compliance by the developers, the owners of the properties. And the regulatory measures that NCA has taken to sanitize, of course, the building code is key. I'll give you an example of a project that, and this is a road project that was up in the Aberdare, for which we have not issued, it's a government project. You can imagine the challenge that we have as a regulator, that you have to license the contractor to implement the project, but we cannot license until NEMA gives its authorization. And I'm sure the matter is has been in court for some time. The contractor cannot move to site because as NCA, our regulatory requirement requires that we issue a compliance certificate for the project. We insist that NEMA, as an entity that deals with the environment issues, must issue their license before we then issue a compliance to the contractor to proceed with the project. So those are some of the processes that we have put in place to ensure compliance.
I still have questions, but very quickly, Planner Gatimu, give us the answers, in your opinion, on the issues of zoning, and then the Lady Justice will wrap it up for us, because we've overstayed our welcome. We need to get off stage.
Thank you very much. On the question of zoning with respect to the sewerage works and the solid waste management, when towns begin, normally you'll find that some of those very unpleasant land uses are normally planned to be in the outlier spaces. And I'll give a very quick example. When Nairobi began, the sewerage works were in Kariobangi. It further expanded, they were taken to some place in Komarok. Now, as we speak, it is somewhere in Rai. So every time a town grows, that has to be taken into the outlier, into the outskirts. I believe what is happening in Kakamega and many other towns, as they grow, what used to be in the outlier space is now being reached by the levels of urbanization. So they have to have that planning interventions. And that's why you have plans that are of 10-year horizon, so that when you revisit such an area, then you ask yourself, do you decommission such a facility and take it further? So that's a planning issue that needs to be addressed by Kakamega. You've also mentioned about misguided allocation of funds. That also comes again to planning. Before you allocate funds, you are supposed to have, as a county, you are supposed to have a county spatial plan that identifies the areas of priority in terms of programs and projects. And then in the wake of that, you are supposed to have what we call the County Integrated Development Plan, CIDP, as we know them. And most of you have heard, I think now we are going through the third wave. Unfortunately, most of the CIDPs are happening without a county spatial plan. So most of the projects are determined on an ad hoc basis. Mostly it is politicians who come with their priorities as opposed to a logical way of getting priorities done in a planned, logical manner. Coming to Lasoya Ambrose, you mentioned about there are so many projects, yeah, and just to report to you, the Physical and Land Use Planning Act that came into effect August 2019 has an area that looks into what we call projects of strategic national importance. These are planned and driven by the Director General, who reports to the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Lands and Physical Planning. So Aror, Kimwarer, and any other. And these are defined for you to understand what is a project of strategic national importance. I would refer you to Legal Notice 156 of 2019. It defines what is a project of strategic national importance. So that falls into that area. And the process of how that is supposed to be conducted, including alienation of public land, the allocation of funds, we have regulations that guide that. Thank you.
Thank you very much for being straight and to the point. Now we will give the closing, we will give Lady Justice Olenga a chance to give us the closing remarks.
Thank you. In just under 1 minute, I wanted to say that the way mediation and arbitration has taken root and has grown because of the fact that there is a framework for it that has been provided. I think we started with the UNCITRO model law and all those other things that came in. But now we are talking about mediation. And in my country and most of the countries that I know of, they do not have a legal framework for mediation now in terms of mediation acts. But now with the Singapore Convention and all that is happening with us coming together like this, we are seeing a wind blowing in which, in my country at least, the discussions on having a mediation framework, mediation act is on the table. And I'm sure many countries are also moving in that direction. I know South Africa, they've already done a bill which I've looked at, and they are moving in that direction as well. On that issue on enforcement or binding nature of the mediation agreement. From my experience in Zambia is that yes, under court annexed mediation and even private mediation here, when it's registered, it's binding. There are very limited scope for you to overturn a mediated agreement. And why are we saying so? Because it is not someone, the mediator, who has imposed that agreement. It is the parties themselves. They have agreed. So it's only in rare cases where you can prove fraudulent activity or some activity that really impacted on the parties in terms of coming to that agreement, that agreement can be set aside. And in Zambia, we have set aside a few cases, mediation agreements on that. I was trying to run. So mediation agreement, mediation settlements, but generally they are binding. And I think that's why it is important that we make sure that our mediators exercise those skills that they have been given, so that the people there go and do a work that I think can stand the test of time. Thank you.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we shall bring this to a close. And I will advise that the hands that remained up during the Q&A, there's still room. Unaweza kuwapiga ngeta during tea break. I have instructed that they do not leave the premises before all questions are answered. I thank you very much for your time. And